I've spent the past few years scanning and uploading obscure internal video game company documents, training guides, retailer memos, all that weird stuff. And every once in a while, I stumble across something I've never seen anyone mention before. That's rare. But what's really rare is when an entire publication goes completely undocumented. That means no mentions, no scans, nothing. Well, folks, today we're going to be talking about just that. I can confidently say that this is not clickbait. This is a real lost Nintendo publication, one that, until now, has never been talked about online. And its name is Nintendo Next. Now, there is a reason why this thing is actually quote-unquote lost. Nintendo kind of stepped on its own feet calling it Next. The Switch was codenamed NX, which sounds like next. Next is a word that comes in literally every major announcement video game companies make, like next gen console or next new game. It has a negative SEO score. But I would guess that this was by design. Nintendo never intended any customers to know about this thing's existence, so it didn't really matter to them if its name was generic. Produced by Nintendo Merchandising Inc., or NMI, the marketing branch of Nintendo of America, these articles were made exclusively for authorized Nintendo retailers. Next was a recurring bulletin, a usually monthly magazine-style insert that NMI reps would physically place into official Nintendo retailer binders found in stores. I don't have the first issue, but based on the fact that issue 38 is dated May of 2011, it's likely that they first came out in early 2008. While Nintendo binders were always filled with paperwork like return forms and promotional schedules, before Next articles existed, Nintendo would print and distribute several ad sheets every time a new game came out. Next allowed them to consolidate everything into a single colorful, bite-sized document, and because this was NMI, they couldn't help but give it flair with full-color layouts, fun graphics, and of course plenty of that signature Nintendo polish. Each issue followed a similar pattern. The cover hyped up the biggest new game or news item Nintendo really wanted retailers to push, followed by a rundown of other new releases, price drops, console bundles, and lastly, anticipated third-party titles. Also tucked away inside each issue was something surprisingly revealing: the top 10 best-selling games for each console of that month. And those charts are gold. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, there's a lot to say about how these were actually put together. They use things like the Wii Remote LEDs as page number icons, which is really fun. But they were also kind of a huge mess. There are tons of graphical problems, including but not limited to background colors that make the text completely unreadable, formatting bugs that break lines mid-sentence, and pretty much no negative space anywhere, making them way too busy. It's clear that it was a low-priority job, probably made by a very small internal team, and not something Nintendo spent a lot of time reviewing. The care is there, but the polish is not. What's more intriguing is the inconsistent tone used throughout the documents. Sometimes the articles read like they're aimed at appealing to customers. And I quote, "Just as lilacs and hyacinth bloom throughout the spring, so too a new color is blooming for the Nintendo 3DS system. Midnight Purple gives the handheld a royal new look." What a riveting piece of literature to include on a front cover featuring a me basically T-posing in a Yoshi costume. Other times it sounds like it's only a list of selling points for employees to memorize. Owners will find that their Nintendo 3DS experience is different every time they pick up the system, thanks to new content and updates delivered by Nintendo, by third parties, and exchanged between users. I guess June 2011 was a really slow month. Some articles are just a really basic description of game features, like issue 41. They describe Kirby's Return to Dreamland in the most corporate way possible. And I quote, "Players must guide Kirby as he retrieves the ship's parts and helps an alien return to its home planet." It's like someone copied a slide deck directly into InDesign. And that inconsistency only got worse when it came to the third-party sections. It's obvious that most of them were submitted by publishers and barely edited. Some of them are full of typos, and others feel like placeholder text that accidentally made it to print. Interestingly, this seems to mirror the general ethos of Nintendo during the early and mid-2010s. They put a lot of care into their first-party titles, but let a surprising amount of low-effort third-party content slip through the cracks. To be fair, with the sheer volume of third-party releases at the time, over 1,400 Wii games and more than 3,000 DS games in the US alone, it was probably impossible to fully vet everything. Though it is still surprising how little oversight there seemed to be in these sections of Next. It reinforces how hectic this era was behind the scenes. It was definitely one of the most chaotic stretches in Nintendo's history. Still, the most valuable thing here by far is those top 10 sales charts. Nintendo doesn't release monthly sales data like this, not historically and not even now. These charts offer a rare behind-the-scenes look at what was actually moving units in North American retail stores, and how these trends shifted over time. While we don't have hard numbers, the rankings alone reveal quite a bit. So here's what I did. I spent like 12 hours manually entering every single top 10 list, every console, every issue, and every game, so I can show you what these trends look like visually. For a bit of background info, all of these graphs are sourced from the around 25 issues that I've scanned, ranging from 2011 to 2014. So we're in the latter part of the Wii and DS's lifespan, right at the beginning of the 3DS and the Wii U's launch, and encroaching on one of Nintendo's worst financial years ever. And one of the most interesting trends, something I certainly did not expect, was just how ridiculously popular rhythm and fitness games were during this era of the Wii. I knew that Wii Fit had been a huge success, of course, but seeing Just Dance and Zumba Fitness show up in top 10 after top 10 made it clear that this genre was absolutely foundational to the Wii's later life success. It seems like a huge portion of the casual audience, specifically the ones who weren't kids, were using the Wii as a way to get moving from home. I'd need demographic data to really confirm this, but my guess is that these titles were especially popular with older adults or people with limited mobility who still wanted to be active. This makes a lot of sense when you look at how Nintendo was marketing their older consoles at around this time. The DSi XL, for example, was explicitly advertised towards grandparents with its bigger screen and brain age bundle. Sure, Nintendo wasn't specifically pushing third-party exercise games, but that's clearly what was resonating in the stores. It's like the broader strategy opened the door and then third parties rushed in to meet the demand. On the flip side, younger players seemed absolutely obsessed with LEGO games, and I mean across the board. LEGO Batman, LEGO Star Wars, LEGO Ninjago, LEGO City were constantly charting in the top 10 across all platforms. I guess I just underestimated the popularity of these games, specifically LEGO Ninjago, which is the number 4 most frequently appearing game in the DS charts. That one really caught me off guard. As a franchise, it launched in 2011, and yet it clearly exploded right out of the gate. This feels a bit like a chicken and egg situation. Like, was LEGO riding the momentum of their already successful game formula, or was Ninjago just instantly and massively popular on its own? Realistically, it is probably both, but either way, the demand was absolutely there and it's very clearly sustained. And then there's Plants vs. Zombies on the DS, which I would honestly call a sleeper hit. It's just such a strange game to be on there. It cost $3 on iOS and was $20 retail on the DS, and yet it was number 2 as the most frequently appearing DS title. Like, yeah, the version had some bonus content, but still seeing it that high up there is just really weird. There's probably something about its format, price, or availability that just made it work especially well in physical retail, but either way, it's honestly impressive. There is a lot more I have to say about this and a lot more data analysis that I still want to do, but I try to get one video out a week, so I'm going to make a bonus part 2 to this video that will be separate from the upload of next Friday, just to talk about this in a little bit more depth. So if you're interested in hearing about what we can learn about Nintendo and their market presence during this really tumultuous era, stay tuned. There is seriously a ton to go over, and it's some really interesting stuff. Nintendo Next shows us what Nintendo prioritized, what retailers were actually stocking, what kinds of games people were buying, and what genres and franchises had real staying power, beyond the initial marketing push. This all during a time when Nintendo was really struggling to keep afloat in the US. On a personal note, it's really awesome to be the first person to share something that truly hasn't been documented before, no matter how small it may be. But even more rewarding is getting people excited about this kind of stuff. And that's really why I make these videos. So I hope that I've piqued your interest, because the data in these documents is genuinely fascinating, and I'm really glad that I got to share it with you guys. I will link below both the data set that I've entered and my full archive page if any of you guys want to explore those documents and dig into this yourself. But there's a lot more that I have to uncover, and I will definitely see you soon for part 2. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I just want to give a shout out to Michelle O, who helped me with the data analysis and will continue to help me with the next part. She's a really awesome origamist, so if you like that sort of thing, check out her Instagram, because she's very cool. Anyways, I'll see you guys really soon, so I'm going to keep this brief. And yeah, hope you look forward to part 2. It's going to be really cool. Okay, bye.